Hey guys, so over the course of the last few months, I have been kind of accumulating videos that I've started and wanted to make, but never actually went through with and finished. So I decided I'm going to start a new series called Lost Projects. So this is the first Lost Project. It's going to be making a somewhat functional marimba. You'll have to see that and decide it for yourself. For context, my friends and I had to make this for a physics class. The basic concept of it was that we had to apply the physics concept we learned in class. So I'm not going to waste your time anymore. Here is us building a somewhat functional marimba. A4, B4, C4, D4, F4, G4, wait, that's not, I forgot something, whatever. So, how exactly does all of this work? Well, for that, we're going to be turning to camera 2. Yeah, there isn't actually a camera 2, I just can't move the camera for the bit. Just don't worry about it. To actually understand how this all works, we need to understand how sound works in general. So, sound is obviously a wave, but more specifically, it is a longitudinal wave. This means that particles within the wave travel parallel to the motion of the wave. Where the particles are closest together is a compression, and where the particles are further apart is a rarefaction. This is different from a transverse wave that we normally associate with the word. In a transverse wave, the particles move perpendicular to the motion of the wave. The highest point of these particles is the crest, and the lowest is a trough. Both types of waves undergo something called simple harmonic motion, which is essentially a motion that repeats itself cyclically. There are more nuances, but we do not need to get into that. Just know waves can be graphed using sine and cosine graphs. If we line up the sine graph with the graph of a longitudinal wave, we can see that the positive values line up with the compressions, and the negative values line up with the rarefactions. This means that we can use the sine graph to actually represent the longitudinal wave. Next, we have to look at interference. There are two types of interference, constructive and destructive. True to its name, destructive interference will destroy two waves that hit each other. This happens when a crest hits a trough, or, for sound, a rarefaction hits a compression. Constructive interference is the opposite. When two compressions or two rarefactions hit, they amplify each other. We can expand on this by talking about standing waves. A standing wave is a type of wave that will reflect off of a surface back into itself, creating points of constructive interference that amplify the compressions and rarefactions. Where these amplifications happen, we get something called an antinode. Where there is no particle movement at all, we get a node. Note that particles are not actually moving in a standing wave, but are just oscillating up and down with a constructive interference. This is because the wave pushes a particle to the right, and its reflection pushes it back to the left with the same magnitude. Finally, we need to learn about harmonics. Based on different materials and lengths of those materials, there will be different patterns of standing waves. Where we can fit one full wave, with at least one antinode and one node, is called the fundamental frequency. Every harmonic above that is just a multiplier of the fundamental frequency. For a tube closed at one end, for example, we can have only the odd numbered harmonics, where our formula for the harmonics is F sub n equals NV divided by 4L, where n is the number of your harmonic, only odds once again, v is the velocity of sound, typically 343 meters per second, and L is the length of your tube in meters. For a tube with both sides opened, the formula is F sub n equals NV divided by 2L, with any number of harmonics. Harmonics are why instruments have their own distinct sound. When you play an instrument, Each one of the harmonics interacts with each other, and the sum of all these interactions gives the instrument its distinct sound. Now we have all the information we need to understand our marimba. On to actually building it. We had two possible approaches for this project. One, a fully open tube, or two, a tube closed at one end. We chose to go with tubes that were fully open. Next, we plug in the frequencies for the notes we wanted, which we found online by using a frequency note chart, and then started calculating our lengths for the fundamental frequency. Here's an example. A typical tuning A4 note on a musical scale is set to 440 Hz. 440 equals 1, because we're looking for the fundamental frequency. Then multiply that by 343, because we're assuming that air in the columns is at 1 atmosphere of pressure and at 20 degrees Celsius. Next, we divide by 2 and multiply that 2 by the desired length of our tube. With a little bit of algebra, we find that L equals 0.38 meters. Apply this across a whole scale A to G across 2 octaves, and we have our marimba. So, after some calculations, work, and construction, we did it. Kinda. You'll have to be the judge of that.
Alright, all nice and strapped in. Cole, you have any words to say?
Yeah, well, I hope the concert will go well today. I think we prepared all that we could, and I think she's ready.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I know this is a slightly different style from the video I usually upload, but I figure I'd try it. Let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments down below. Also, I apologize for lighting this video. I kind of procrastinated all day, and all my lighting got ruined, so I guess there's a lesson here about not procrastinating or something. I don't know, take it with a grain of salt. Anyways, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time.